professional. Oh, 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 oh. A chance with a professional. With smiles is all wood. A chance with a professional. Oh, 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 oh. A chance with a professional.
Your visit to Nigeria, do you think that Baba Obasanjo could be on the street while these Boko Haram people are doing what they are doing?
The objective of the private organization is slightly different from...
Nigeria is the most important country
of education. The collapse of culture in Nigeria. Even with cheating, we can't pass. We've not done enough. There's still more. Join us.
And you'll never regret that you did.
Today on the show, we are going to be discussing community service. What is it that our brothers and sisters who live in the developed societies, now by our brothers and sisters I mean Africans in diaspora, what is it that they can do to better the lots of our people back home? And that's why I'm going to have the pleasure of the company of someone who has actually paid his dues, someone who has seen it all, got his education in Nigeria, worked briefly as a teacher before migrating overseas, first to Asia, and eventually settled in the United States of America. This is a chat to the professional, and I remain Martin Sobu, your regular host, urging you to stay back as I take on this short break. By the time I return, I will be introducing my guest. Please stay. You're still watching the show, A Chat to the Professional, and like I told you in my opening, today we are going to be discussing community service. Now, we are trying to see how we can, with our brothers and sisters living all over the world, all the experience they've garnered, how are we able to deploy them to making our various communities better? And that's why today on the show, I have the pleasure and privilege of having a guest who should be able to talk to us about that. I haven't been born and brought up in Nigeria and traveled out of the country almost 2 decades ago, and is doing us proud in the United States of America. So join me now as I welcome to the show Chukwuma Ojukwu. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, you have been in the United States for about 16 years now.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, you studied political science back home, and at some point you were even a teacher.
Yes.
And you left in search of greener pastures, as they say. So how come when you left Nigeria, you did not continue with teaching?
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me on this show. I appreciate that very much. Like you rightly pointed out, I graduated from University of Nigeria, so political science was my major. And when I finished my college degree, I embarked on teaching profession. Actually, I taught in the secondary school as the senior government teacher while I was doing my postgraduate diploma in the business administration in the Enugu campus. So I always have this passion about teaching. I believe education is the foremost in our life. You impact the knowledge to kids, and they'll grow with it. Education is the way to go. With education, you can achieve a lot of stuff, and that was why I had to start my career by being a classroom teacher. And I taught for more than about 4 years before I decided to travel overseas for a greater pasture, and probably do my doctorate degree in business administration. The first place I went to was Republic of South Korea, where I intended to pursue my career in education, to further my education and come back to Nigeria and utilize those
skills
back. But along the line, as we move on in life, we'll see that life is not what you really want it to be. You plan to be something. In your course of your desire, you see other areas that still will be of beneficial to Nigerians. Because at the end of it, what we need is how are we going to change and impact the life of people living in Nigeria. So I was not really bent on saying that, oh, I have to be a teacher, I have to be a doctor to do this. There's many ways you can help people back home in Nigeria and achieve their. That's why I kind of switched career, if you must say, became an entrepreneur.
Because at the end of the day, what matters is this, right?
Well, it is true, but when you have that, you can still be able to change people's life. Because if you don't have the will to do it, then, and I strongly believe in individual efforts more than government efforts. I believe the government has a lot in their hands to do. They have a lot in their plate. If you become an entrepreneur, you could do a voluntary service, community service. You can help people. We don't have to wait for government to do everything for us.
Now, growing up in Nigeria, I'd like you to flash back. Of course, those were the days when you needed to not just work hard, but make good grades, to be so recognized as an accomplished person. A lot of things seem to have changed now. It's more about what certificate you have or how much money you have in your pocket. If you flash back to those days as a teacher in Nigeria, do you see a correlation between the kind of life our people lived then and what you see when you visit home these days?
Yeah, in honesty, a lot have changed in that aspect, because as the country gets older in the way we do things, I really noticed that when I came out from college, when I graduated from University of Nigeria in Nsukka, life was a little bit, I won't say easy, but at least you 50 or 60% sure you're going to get a job to do. Like I said, I came out from the college and I got a job to teach. Stuff like that are no longer easy to come by in Nigeria. Things have drastically changed, and that is attributed to poor economic management by the politicians, poor resources. Our growth has not shown any significant increase in the years. Most people attribute it to the fall of oil and or whatnot, but I strongly believe that present situation, a lot of Nigerians are suffering, especially the graduates who graduate from schools, different universities. Some can't even go to youth service, some still have not even gotten jobs. So it has really changed, and that brings me to the idea of what we can do as an individual to help the system. Because the system is so saturated now that everybody is looking for jobs. So people like us who are entrepreneurs, I personally deal with export and import of machineries, and also I have people working for me, and we try as much as possible to, whatever we make overseas, send it back to Nigeria to help people down there. So a lot has really changed.
Yeah, that what you just said now is an issue that personally I'm disturbed about. A situation where we just have to go out there, make money and send back home. You and I know that when you give out free money, it's hardly appreciated as when that money is worked for. Don't you think also that in a way is kind of encouraging laziness? Because you see several families who have relatives living overseas, expecting that at the end of the month such a person sends down some money, they spend, and they call back to say the money is finished. I don't know. Do you think as a people we are doing well in empowering relatives back home? I mean, when I say us, I mean those of you who are living overseas. Do you think we are getting it right? Couldn't we do better in terms of some other empowerment scheme beyond making some dollars and sending, and then they are changing and having a big naira to spend?
Yes. Well, thank you for that. I strongly believe there's 3 principles of life. that you can help somebody. You know, the basics. When we send money home or try to help people back home, I'm not talking about buying them a car, building them a house, you know, paying for their marriage, no, I'm talking about the basic subsistence of life, which includes food, shelter, and clothes on the back. You know, I try as much as possible to encourage people overseas to help them much they can, and also head on prioritize their needs back home.
Yeah.
Like health, for instance, which, you know, I think in the later part of this program I'm going to talk about it, because we are not helping them when you give them money to do everything they want to do. We have to prioritize. We have to prioritize what we are going to do to help them. Send them to school, pay for their school fees to go from primary education, university to college education, and have them be able to be educated.
Yeah. Because
education, like I said in the past, is the first thing we do. So it depends on an individual. I personally try to invest more on education on my relatives or friends and well-wishers, and also us to help them achieve the basic needs of life, to help them get to a point where they want to be in future. Of course, if somebody wants to establish a factory, if we have the money to do that and the feasibility study is something that we can do, I'll be glad to help the person to start your own small scale industry to do. You know, it's not about giving the person a fish, it's just teaching them how to catch the fish. And that is why I always look backwards for everything I do to see, hey, how can I help my folks? Not only my immediate relations, friends and well-wishers, like I said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'll encourage other people to do the same thing. You just don't make them lazy. Don't set money to them, hey, I'm doing my marriage, I'm doing this. Yeah, of course marriage is good, but I think if you're not ready for that, you don't ask me for money for that.
Resources to take care of the family.
Yeah, so you don't, I really shy away from doing stuff like that. I pay attention more to what I can do to help you as an individual, or to help your family, or to help your kids in the school.
Which is critical. Mentorship.
Yeah.
Now you're here. You're doing very well, you know, for yourself, for your family. Do you have people back home who look up to you and say, I want to be like Chukwuma? By this, I'm not being particular about you as an individual, but also growing up, I'm sure you'll agree with me that in those days, you had people you looked up to and said, okay, look, you know what? I'm going to school to be like this person. I'm going into trade to be like this person. Do we still have that? Or is it just focused on how much money that someone has? Because, you know, that's talking about value system. What do you have to say about this mentorship?
Yeah, thank you very much. There, like I said, the system have changed. People value a lot more on money, what they can get.
But we can still turn things around. I'm not saying we should go back to, you know, primitive ways of doing things.
I agree. I 100% agree with you. Growing up, my dad was a role model for me. You know, he was in the civil service. He was a public servant. And you know what that means when you're trained by somebody who's a public servant who serves the public. There's a tendency for the children to always look forward to being a public, you know, value, not really a public servant, but have value and see the positivity of what he did. So he was my mentor, and I have a lot of other uncles and relations and friends who were older than me that really inspired me to go and do my program in University of Nigeria, Nsukka and Enugu campus. And today I have people who look up to me too, because I go to Nigeria 3-4 times a year. Whatever is going on there, Christmas, New Year, whatever, I have a project going on there, and I always have something that will send me back home. It's always important to go back to your root.
I chat with a professional. I chat with a professional. With smiles is all good. I chat with a professional. I chat with a professional.
Do you think that Baba Obasanjo could be on the street while these Boko Haram people are doing what they are doing?
The objective of the private organization is slightly different from
Nigeria is the most important country.
Of education, the collapse of culture in Nigeria. Even with cheating, we can't pass. We've not done enough. There's still more. Join us.
And you never regret that you did.
You're welcome back. You're still watching the show, and before we went on break, my guest and I have tried to talk about growing up in Africa or in Nigeria, as the case may be, mentorship, and that's where we left off.
Yes.
Mentorship, people telling you I want to be like you, and they can't really say why they want to be like you. That's actually my concern. And I think it's something that I expect our brothers and sisters who live in the developed societies to begin to think about. How can we begin to have a change in the mindset of our people that success is not just measured by the amount of money you have in your pocket, but by the impact, the effect of your actions or inactions on the society as a whole. So what do you think we can do to begin to ensure that our young ones have a value orientation that encourages them to work hard and aspire to be like individuals who are not just rich or financially stable, but those who have made a difference in the society?
All right. Thank you once again for that question. You know, it's a kind of it has a broad answer, and I'm going to touch on different aspects of it. Okay. The first one, when we talked about mentorship and what they look up to me, of course they look up to me as a hardworking young man, as somebody who is a philanthropy, giving back to the society, somebody who has stayed positive in all dealings with people, both local and international. Somebody who has been a community achiever, and more importantly, somebody who have reached out to the community to help. You know, like you said, it's not about success is not measured to me, and to some school of thought, it's not measured by how much you have in your pocket, but your intellectual ability and what you can give back to the society in different facets. Now, I came to the United States in 2006. And when I migrated from South Korea to the United States in 2006, I joined an association, and I asked myself, what can I do to impact and change the lives of people back in my community? And I joined an association in Houston, Texas, called Enugu Progressive Union. Enugu Progressive Union is a non-governmental organization, not-for-profit organization that helps to cater the needs of our people back in Nigeria in terms of medical health facilities, education, and everything. I served in the executive capacity of that association for almost about 8 to 9 years. Currently, I'm the Secretary General of that association. And we have a bigger umbrella that comprises about 26 chapters of that group. We call the Enugu USA. It's a bigger umbrella. It's a 541c organization that caters for the needs of people both in Nigeria and in America as well. So that is where I found my recent passion in community service.
Okay.
We have a subsidiary of Enugu USA called Enugu USA Medical Mission. This is a mission that sends medications, doctors, pharmacists, or people in the healthcare profession back home to Nigeria, precisely Enugu State, on a yearly basis to take care of our community healthcare system in different local governments. I don't know if you're aware, Enugu has about 17 local governments, and my group volunteer twice every year to do an medical outreach to people in the rural areas. I have been actively involved in that program for the last 8 years. Every December I go home to do that. And talking about positive values, this is one way we can help people. In the healthcare industry, what do? We raise money in the United States, get drugs from some pharmaceutical companies with the help of the Enugu State government, NAFDAC, the Ministry of Health, to make sure that whatever drugs that we bring in from the United States is genuine drugs and not expired drugs. And also to make sure that those drugs we bring into Nigeria, in states, are drugs that will go directly to the local governments that need them, having a part and parcel of the system. Community outreach, volunteering with a team of doctors from UNTH, Parkland Hospital, Bishop Shanahan, and Orthopedic Hospital, where we have professionals. Like you rightly pointed out in this interview, you know, it is what can we do for the state? What can we give back to the society we came from? You know, and currently I'm the Secretary General of that bigger umbrella. So you can see I like being secretary. I'm the local chapter secretary for years, national secretary, and probably, you know, might be the president of that association, the national big one. So yes, I am looking forward for the election that we're gonna have very soon, coming in June, and I hope to be the president of the national body of Enugu USA.
Okay, you've taken this out of my mouth, you know, going from what I asked into something else. Now, let's just assume you become the president of that association.
Yeah.
What do you think you haven't been doing well as a group? You said is in non-profit organization,
Yes.
and you've been reaching out to people back home to better their lives. Are you what are the things you are considering, or you think you've not been doing right to achieve maximum impact back home? Because I am a lot more concerned about career development. I'm a lot more concerned about good governance. I'm a lot more concerned about quality life for our people. So let's assume you are the president of that group. Are there things you haven't done well that you think you'll be bringing to the table to ensure that all these that I've mentioned are able to trickle down to the people?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. I have served in that capacity as on the national body for 4 years. The past administration was led by Dr. Imo Obiesi. I was the national PRO of that regime, and currently Dr. Ifesina Chugoni is the president and the Secretary General, working under her. I've worked under 2 administrations, and I know what it takes to do things, get things done. I have seen where we came from 4 years ago, where we are today, and I need to move forward. For instance, the medical mission that I just talked about. We used to do the medical mission every year towards the Christmas, but in my regime, we want to do it to be a continuous process. Because when you see people in December, that doesn't mean they're going to get well the whole of the year.
Yeah.
So we recently have an office in Enugu State where we want continued visitation so that people can still, when we go back to the United States, they can still see the team of doctors that we currently use in the state. And those team of doctors are certified Nigerian Medical Association Enugu branch.
Okay.
We work in a partnership with them for a continuity. Because some of the drugs that we send home, you can't even get them in Nigeria. If you see them in Nigeria, it's very expensive. So we'll make sure, like the high cholesterol drugs, for some drugs for diabetes, you know, and high blood medications that we bring from the United States. We make sure that those drugs is being continued in usage all through the year. That's what I hope to do, because I noticed we go back after a couple of months. You know,
the drugs could even expire in the store.
Yeah. So we, in my regime, I think we need to take it a step further and make it a continuous process. And also, we will try to go. I personally will want to go into education. Like, you know, my background is education. I was a teacher.
Yeah.
If we have achieved so much in the medical field, I think we can do a lot about youth development and education. And youth development and education is a subsidiary of Enugu USA that can take care of the youth back home. Not every, you know, I can't say we can take care of everybody, but at least if we focus on youth summits, you know, during my regime, the youth summits can bring our people together, the kids together, and we have mentors, lecturers come talk to them. We have other activities that we want to do. So I intend to inculcate that youth education in my regime. Being that I have served in 2 regimes, I want to make a difference. So I know what it takes.
Become president.
Yeah, I will be the president. by God's grace, if you campaign strongly for me, I don't know if you can do that. Yeah, well, when public service is something that is my desire, I love that.
Okay.
And you can see that burning in me, you can see the desire, and I hope, sincerely I hope that I will be the president of this association to take it to the next level.
Well, if all you've said are the things that you really want to do, I'm going to wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank
I'm
you.
going to wish you all the best, and I just hope and believe that viewers out there watching, especially our brothers and sisters who are living in the developed societies, are able to begin to not just think home in terms of sending money, but empowering the people in such a way and manner, like he rightly said, teaching them how to fish rather than giving them the fish all the time, because that's essentially is one of the major reasons why our economy hasn't been doing well. There's no way we can have good leadership if we do not have good citizenship, because the leaders anyway are going to come from the citizens.
Yes.
So if you don't have good citizenship, how do you expect good leadership? So can we take it further and begin to be good citizens, giving back to the society that made us, if you like, and at the same time ensuring that those cultural values that made us unique as a people are not eroded. It's not everything Western that is good, in as much as we know that it's not everything Western that is bad. Yes, we need a civilization, we need the technological growth, but I think it's very, very important that we continue to remember who we are as a people and continue to uphold those. So, Joma, it's indeed my delight and pleasure having this conversation with you, and like I said, I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Martin.
In your career and in your, should I call it now, political ambition?
Well,
community service.
Political ambition in community service. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good,
right.
not their big political ambition.
Not in partisan politics.
No, not the partisan in their community service.
Okay, so long
leadership
now.
role.
Mm-hmm. Alright, that's much time would permit on the interview segment. I'll see you shortly to wrap up the show. Please stay. Well, I don't think there's anything more to add to what Chukwuma Ojukwu, has said about community service and what actually we can do to better the lot of our people. Now, if we have a group like Enugu USA, like he said, if we have that replicated from all parts of Nigeria and indeed all parts of Africa, those living overseas coming together to say, what can we do to give back to the society that made us? I think then we might begin to see positive changes in both the living standard and, of course, the overall growth of our dear continent. Well, what more can I add but to keep encouraging professionals of African descent living all over the world to do the needful and ensure that they don't just send back money home to folks who would just spend and ask for more without additional value. Till next time when I come your way, I remain Martin Sobu saying stay blessed, and I'll see you again.